Well, something is happening with an Israeli ship that was attacked with a ballistic missile. This is the ship that was attacked. Let's see what's going on. Pay attention to this because look, there was an impressive movement. We've already talked about it in 2 or 3 videos about how Israel managed an unprecedented attack on the Houthis. To the most important leadership, the Prime Minister died there, along with several generals and several ministers from different areas. Basically, the top leaders of the Houthis, this terrorist group that's trying to rule Yemen by force, right? Capturing Sana'a and other regions? Well, yes, of course, they also have social support from some important sectors of the people. We have to remember that they are not the official government, let's say, right? So there's an internal struggle there as well. But after Israel's attack last week, an attack where, well, the top leaders, as I said, of the Houthis lost their lives, well, now they are taking reprisals against Israeli civilian ships. The attack was claimed as a direct response to the death of the Houthi leader Hamed Ghaleb al-Rajani. He reportedly died during an airstrike attributed to Israel in the capital Sana'a. The spokesperson for the Houthis, Yahya Seraya, stated that the Israeli tanker Scarlet Ray was directly hit, although he did not specify any material or human damages. Was the attack justified as retaliation for what is happening right now or for what has been happening in recent days against Yemen? But they also talk about the gas issue. Israel has not officially commented on the attack, and there are no independent reports on ship damage. We need to wait for more details. Let's see what happened. But the rebels warned that they will prevent Israeli ships from sailing, not to the Israeli port. It could be a ship with another flag, but if they know it's headed to the Israeli port, they say they will retaliate. According to the Israeli army, they confirmed the attack in Sana'a, but for now, they do not acknowledge the bombing against the Houthi leadership. It's unclear who carried out the operation, but most assume it was the Israel Defense Forces. This conflict could affect international maritime traffic because if this attack already happened today, supposedly with a ballistic missile, it would have been in the Red Sea. This area is a passageway for many ships, cargo vessels, and oil tankers that come from Asia to Europe, or from Europe to Asia, or from the Middle East to Europe or to Asia. The point is that it's a very busy area, this area of both the Gulf of Oman, which is this, and the Black Sea. Why? Because through here, all of the Middle East passes and they arrive here through this area, through the Suez Canal. And there's an opening where huge, giant ships pass through, right? So, I mean, if we get really close, we can see there's a passage. There are the ports. Everything is there, right? So from there, they go to the to the Mediterranean Sea. And then from there, they go to all of Europe, right? But anyway, another thing that I also find interesting, what's happening in the world is that it has been, well, intensifying. What is increasing, according to reports, is that a new phase of internal militarization is being experienced, with Maduro's regime clearly focused on consolidating political power. Through the armed forces, the regime announced an expansion of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, Behind the official discourse, there's an internal control strategy beyond national defense. Check it out. This video, well, it's pretty funny. Listen to this. Venezuela, source of drug trafficking. Come on, look at that. Venezuela is not a source. No. Venezuela is not a source of drug trafficking. Venezuela is not a source of drug trafficking. Venezuela is not a source of drug trafficking. Come on. Venezuela is not a source of drug trafficking. Well, the thing is, they want to record these videos saying that Venezuela is not a source of drug trafficking, and they just can't say it. The laughter, the words, whatever you want. But the point is that you see more and more of this involvement that the military is looking for. To show with these little messages, well, that they are not involved in trafficking in a pretty crude way. We're not going to say it. Analysts indicate that the goal is to limit the autonomy of army commanders, who have historically been considered the main source of rebellion attempts against Chavismo. The restructuring currently taking place in the army aims to prevent any officer from having enough troops to challenge Maduro. This shows that the internal fear is greater than any external threat. there is a division like by cells, so if any of them rebels, it's easier to handle. They can control a single cell instead of an entire large one, right? If they're small cells, it's easier. Divide and conquer, as they say. And that's how they've done it with the Bolivarian army to keep it under control. The armed forces also grow nominally, but only the National Guard receives resources and personnel, increasing the imbalance among the military branches. At this moment, Maduro obviously maintains the monopoly on armed power, making sure that no military structure can organize against him. National defense is not being reinforced. Instead, internal repression among the military is being strengthened. In other words, there is repression against the military. And that's an issue that also draws attention at this time. They also show this image of a sniper in Venezuela. In fact, that's Maduro there. He's watching, either lowering or about to shoot. You notice that the scope is covered, right? That's pretty strange. And obviously, well, I don't know if it's nervousness or lack of experience. And then they put the sniper in position and look where he shoots. I mean, he shoots and hits outside the little figure, even though the little figure isn't even moving, right? Well, obviously it's part of these displays of power that they've been doing lately every day. Well, they bring something out and everyone is paying attention. Like, let's see. What are they going to show now, right? A topic that's actually pretty funny. Now let's move on to several topics that are happening right now in the world. But above all, it's being reported that a NATO country is planning to gradually eliminate swastikas because the Finnish Air Force still displays this symbol on their Air Force flags. No, if you look at the flags, they still have the swastika there, just like in the Nazi era, right? The flags of the Finnish Air Force, which still display the swastika symbol, can be seen during the parade in Finland. This happened in November 2024. Now they're considering changing the flags? Well, obviously not. These are issues that, well, still have traces, let's say, of that Second World War. Another thing that stands out is that Kim Jong-un appears. The North Korean leader is seen inspecting a new line of missiles on the border with China before his trip to Beijing. On the border with China, North Korea, and China, right? If we look at the map right away, let's go to this area. Here is North Korea, here is China, here is South Korea, and in these areas they have placed ballistic missiles. Just imagine that. Kim Jong-un himself visited a newly inaugurated missile production line yesterday in Jiangxi province on the border with China. This is interpreted as a preliminary step before a trip to Beijing to attend an important military parade that will take place on September 3rd. But anyway, that's another story, not really another story. Let me tell you that we're going to the next report. We're going to the next broadcast. There, not there.